Welcome back to the Shuffle Squad. Zach Lesage here. Today we're going to be covering over Archaludon EX, the deck that I took to a day 2 finish at the 2025 European International Championships in London. Now, Archaludon EX doesn't have a whole lot of things going on. You're accelerating energies with Assemble Alloy and mainly attacking with Metal Defender. It's incredibly basic, but it's also incredibly effective in our current metagame. If you're looking for a great deck for yourself, maybe someone who's learning Pokemon or looking for something a little bit easier to play, maybe a younger player, someone's kind of new to the game, this would be a home run deck to show them. Like I said, we're going to be using Assemble Alloy, accelerating energies from our discard pile. We can easily get energies into our discard pile by the use of Radiant Greninja, Earthen Vessel, Ultra Ball, some pretty common cards that are just meant to discard fodder. In this case, we want to discard Metal Energies so we can use Assemble Alloy, get those energies and accelerate them onto our Pokemon like the active Archaludon EX to hit for 220. 220 is not a lot, but it is the right number for this format. You can knock out a Teal Mask Ogerpon, a Fezandipiti, a Rotom. There's a handful of Pokemon that you can knock out. And even things like Duraludon, before it evolves, can do 30 damage to a Bidoof, which is quite impactful in our format considering there's 30 HP Pokemon running around. Now, it's not just all about Metal Defender or knocking out a Bidoof. We have access to Raging Hammer on Duraludon, and we can copy that attack by using Relicanth Memory Dive ability. Now, we do 80 damage base plus 10 for each damage counter on our Pokemon. So if Dragapult, one of the more popular decks in the format, were to hit us for 200, we're doing 200 plus the base 80. Not enough to knock out that Pokemon, but we do have 2 copies of Black Belt in this deck. So Black Belt's training allows us to do an additional 40 damage to our opponent's active Pokemon EX, making that 200 plus 80 plus 40, following here 320 damage total to knock out a Dragapult. The numbers work very similarly if you're playing an Archaludon EX Mirror. They hit you for 220, 220 plus 80 base, knockout. Black Belt's training can help you get from that 220 or that Raging Hammer damage to that next threshold. So let's say you play against a Raging Bolt deck, you could do 220 plus 40 to knock out that 240 HP Pokemon, or Goldango at 260, 220 plus 40, 260. Nothing crazy, nothing outrageous, but the numbers seem to work. We could fetch that card out with Lumineon by using Ultra Ball, or we have a handful of Pokégears when it comes to this deck as well. You might see some cards that are like, hey, why would you play Squawkabilly? This is not really an aggressive deck. We do have 2 copies of Professor Turo, and we have a copy of Scoop Up Cyclone, allowing us to lift up some of those other 2 prize card Pokemon that we have in play. Mainly, we want to wall with our Archaludon EX, and if we don't have to play Fezandipiti, Lumineon, Squawkabilly, only break those out in case of an emergency, whether you need to get a game-winning card, your hand sucks, you need a supporter like a Black Belt to take a huge knockout. That's really where we're going for. Otherwise, we're just really going to be playing cards like Research, Boss, Iono every turn, because these are very common cards that we can use to draw cards, because maybe we need our Archaludon, bring up something that we want to hit for 220 and knock it out, or we could disrupt our opponent with Iono. There's also 4 copies of Jamming Tower. I never thought that Jamming Tower would be so effective in their current format, but it is. Between Dragapult playing its Sparkling Crystal and Gardevoir playing all those Bravery Charms and just other random things that you find out, or bumping your opponent's stadium, the 4 Jamming Tower can definitely lock things out of play, especially Technical Machine Evolution, when there's a lot of decks that just want to go evolving their basic Pokemon into stage 1 Pokemon ASAP. I think that this deck is actually fantastic as we look towards the future metagame of Vancouver and Fortaleza and the rest of our Prismatic Evolutions format before we rotate on. And even in our post-rotation format, it looks like this deck is seeing some success with Hops, Dubwool, and some other tech cards. So it's fairly rotation proof as all, because most of the cards in this deck are quite new. Sure, you're going to lose Lumineon V. That's looking like the majority of what we're losing here. So I totally recommend this list. Feel free to take a screenshot of the image right now. or you can check out the description and copy and paste this list right into PTCG Live. We do have a couple sponsors that I love to support. We have Kayfabe Cards. So if you're trying to get any of these cards physically, they do have a booth at Vancouver Regionals. And on top of that, they also have online stores. So check out the links in the description. There's also ptcgostore.com. If you're trying to build this deck online and don't have all the credits to craft the cards, you could get some code cards from there using code TSS5 to save 5% off your order. Build this deck ASAP and start winning on the ladder towards Arceus rank. And other than that, give this video a like, share, subscribe with your friends. All this stuff really helps boost the YouTube algorithm. And I want to show some gameplay in this video, so we're going to show what this deck can do in a game or two, and while I kind of go over it. So if that sounds great, let's jump into it. So I'm just going to call heads, see if that allows us to win the coin flip. We got tails. Now we're actually a deck that wants to go first, just so we're able to get our own Pokemon, attach, evolve the next turn, very similar to V-Star decks. They're going first, we'll go second. Maybe we'll have more opportunities to get set up. We'll have to see exactly what we're playing against. And honestly, this is not my favorite hand. I'd rather start with Squawkabilly though, because we have its Squawk and Seize ability, where our Lumineon, we have to play it down from our hand. Now it looks like we're probably playing against some kind of control variant. Luckily we do kind of okay against those builds. We'll see exactly how it works out here, but I don't know. We'll see what our opponent's playing here. Ultra Ball, awesome. And they're playing Capsakid. I'm honestly not sure what kind of deck this is. I think this might actually evolve into a Pokemon that's weak to fire, or a Pokemon that's fire type. We'll have to rock and roll, see exactly what they're playing here. Definitely not meta deck by any chance, but we'll see. So let's get some energies in our discard pile. I don't really care what we play against. I'm here to kind of show you how this deck sets up more often than not. So we can always just get more energies in our discard pile, because this looks like a great turn to maybe use Squawkabilly's attack and utilizing what was once our poor start into a much better start. So we could use Motivate, for example, here to have access to some stuff. Now let's go ahead, rip some energies into our discard pile, and let's get our Duraludon. Remember, when you're playing through any of these decks, make sure to do like a full deck search to see if there's anything you're missing. It looks like we've prized both copies of our black belts, as long as I'm not going crazy here. None in hand, none in our discard pile. So something like that could matter if you were playing against one of those decks that you need to hit more than 220. And this might end up being one of those decks. So let's try to draw some other prize cards. Let's go Duraludon down. And since we have all those energies in our discard pile, I don't really see an issue for us to put the 20 damage on Squawk, or the 20 on our opponent, so we can get a freebie attack off. Get some energies, not be as reliant on needing our Archaludon as much as we probably will just get it out naturally. Now, big question here, do we use Squawk and Seize first? Do we use a supporter first? We're not always guaranteed a supporter, but we're guaranteed Squawk and Seize. In this case, I'm fine to use Professor's Research. Here it didn't look like we got anything too crazy, and it looks like we're going to end up being able to utilize a few more things. So let's go for a Dura here. Just in case we want to get set up a little bit more, let's go for another Dura. We still have access to Ultra Ball. In this case, I'm probably just going to get some more energies in our discard pile since we're able to attach them so easily. I'm probably just going to end up grabbing the 1 energy so we can get some more energies out there. Since we could potentially use the Night Stretcher, we'll keep that as an option. And not going to have a lot of energy, so Radiant Greninja is not going to be seeing a lot of play. Relicanth could be okay. I think the card that I'm going to grab is Iron Bundle, just in case our opponent has a Pokemon that we can't knock out. Let's go. Iron Bundle goes down, not utilizing the ability, and let's go for Squawk and Seize. Now, hopefully we have a hand that's filled with options. Jamming Tower could be quite a strong card. So let's go ahead and have the Jamming Tower for next turn. And let's go for Squawkabilly's. Attach 2 bait for your discard pile to one of your bench Pokemon. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do 20 damage there. Let's go 1 energy, 2 energies. Now, Archaludon can use Assemble Alloy to your Metal Pokemon in whichever way you like. So we could always just go an energy on Duraludon and then an energy on our other Duraludon. That's going to allow us to then kind of attack, be good. Yeah, this is definitely one of those decks where I'd much rather have access to Black Belt. It's crazy that both of them are prized, but you can see how impactful it is already. You can discard a random card from an opponent's hand, discard a random card from their top of their deck. Nothing too crazy. Any of their energy denial is not going to matter too much when it comes down to it. I do want to give a quick shout out to Advanced GG. They are a sponsor of our YouTube channel here. Absolutely love their product, so check in the description to see if it's the right product for you. It might end up being the right product for you. If not, that's cool too. Okay, so you can also see we're shutting down their Jamming Tower, their Technical Machine De-Evolution. There's a lot of Pokemon tools that just end up like being good. During your opponent's next turn, that Pokemon can't retreat. Could use something like a Professor Turo or a Scoop Up Cyclone to get out of that situation. Something like this Pal Pad might actually end up being more impactful than we previously thought. Pokemon you find there. We don't have a lot of Pokemon in our hand. We play a lot on the board. So even though that we're playing against this kind of rogue control deck, I hope it's at least some interesting gameplay. Just gonna move this Archaludon over here. Giving ourselves some more things to look at. So yeah, I think like when it comes down to it, I'd like to start attacking this Scovillain. I think that makes a lot of sense. We got to get out of the active spot first, so that's going to be a little bit more annoying. If we look into our discard pile here, we can see that we have access to Research Boss, nothing crazy. I think I'm going to just double check here with Nest Ball. Nest Ball, I don't see any reason for us not to grab a Relicanth. And let's go for Pokégear. Pokégear might end up being effective. There's a boss. I mean, do I think boss is going to be anything crazy? No, I don't. I'm going to probably just grab Iono just in case we want to try to draw into something else here. Have we already played an Iono at all? I think we discarded one. We did. So this is going to be our last Iono. I think it's better to go ahead and evolve into an Archaludon. Let's start getting these energies and things rolling. I'm just going to go 1 and 1 like this. And energy is going to go 1 there, 1 there, because we don't want to have them on the same Pokemon if possible. I don't want to go ahead and pull the Pal Pad because I'd like to save those for Turos for later. I know they only have 1 card in their hand, but we'll just deal with whatever the situation is. So there's that. We have a Jamming Tower. We have a Turo for next turn in case they decide to trap us again. And I think what I'm going to do here is just going to go Motivate for 20 onto this Scovillain. And the numbers actually work out the same as a Black Belt here anyways. So even though we're not in the most winningest position of all time, we're able to hit our opponent for the 40 damage necessary. So that's going to bring them from 260 to 220. We got to remember that their Hero's Cape is not going to be active because Jamming Tower controls all in this metagame. There's so many decks that just play Pokemon tool cards, whether it's Gardevoir, Dragapult, or this Scovillain control deck. And we'll just deal with that. This says discard a random card from your opponent's hand, discard the top card of their deck. I'm glad that it's a random card. I guess one of the big reminders when it comes to playing against these decks, you always want to kind of come with lines of play off the top of your head. Having a larger hand and playing less cards means that there's a higher chance that our opponent's not going to discard key cards like Jamming Tower or Turo. They could discard, like, Research is the best card that they could discard when it comes to this situation, at least for us. So we don't want them to be discarding all of our things, and I'm kind of happy that they're knocking out our Squawkabilly. It's no longer going to be in the active, and I think we'll quickly pick up the pace of taking prize cards where our opponent's going to struggle here. Don't take away Turo. That's fine. That was one of the better cards. That's also a fine card to discard. No harm, no foul. So you can see our opponents, they're only sitting at 220 because their Hero's Cape's not working. We're just going to set up the Dawn. And I don't think there's much else we have to do here. We could go something like Night Stretcher if we really wanted to. And Night Stretcher could be effective to get back that Lumineon for later. I'm going to keep our hand as is. Sometimes you do not need to play a supporter. Like, I don't need to Turo up anything. I don't want to discard this hand. I don't have a Pokemon or an energy that I want to get out of my discard pile yet. And Jamming Tower, I can't play at all. So let's just hit for the 220 for the knockouts. And our opponent's not going to have a great response into this. If they start doing extra damage to us or anything else like that, maybe there's a Raging Hammer play. I hope we just draw a Black Belt here. There we go, Black Belt. We hitting hard. We going crazy. Just send up your Scovillain. Just assume we can't hit for 260, please. We cooking. And it's just easy gameplay like this, and it'd be the same easy gameplay if you were playing against a Miraidon deck, where it's like they attack you with Miraidon, you go 220. They have an Iron Hands, you go 200 and black belt 260. Like, you're just like, what's the missing piece? This is exactly what we're missing. That's when you go forward with it. Very easy, effective, making just logical choices. And it looks like our opponent's just going to burn us. We're not confused. We're not doing anything. Even if we can't retreat, we have access to Turo. It would be a little bit more annoying if they made it that we couldn't retreat. I hope they just attack our active so we can get the knockout. And then with us having access to Pal Pad and Lumineon, once we have the 1 black belt, we probably have enough access for the rest of the game. And I'm okay with the burn if we don't get rid of it or anything else like that. Tails, we're still going to be burned for the foreseeable future. Two damage counters in between turns until we're no longer burnt. We're, unfortunately for our opponent, going to drop the black belt here, and we're going to go for 260. Now, this is where if we don't draw our other black belts, we don't necessarily have access to our Pal Pad easily. And maybe we'll just get access to our black belt. That'd be cool, because we did prize both, and we did. But we could also use cards like Iron Bundle, not get a single prize card, our opponent doesn't knock us out, or even if they do, we're just one Duraludon away from going Iron Bundle again, or just going Boss's Orders to win the game. Or we could two-shot our opponent's Pokemon. This deck is built to, once you're set up, it's hard to fail with this deck. And that's probably my biggest success story at EUIC, where sometimes they're like, well, I guess we can't really attack because we have access to Raging Hammer with the Relicanth. I had an opponent hit me with Lugia 220. I had 2 prize cards left. What did they do? Not attack? Retreat? At that point, I never take damage. So Archaludon, as much as it's basic, there's some layers of depth to it. And I think there's some really cool plays that you can make with a deck like this. And you can see that they're struggling here. There's a very good chance that they time out or send up another Pokemon. This is fine. We even have resistance to popular grass Pokemon like Bidoof. They'd even be doing 30 damage less. Best case scenario, we just stay burned for the rest of the game. We are Metal type, right? The other thing too is that we have Metal Defender during your opponent's next turn. This Pokemon has no weakness. That's great, especially if we're playing against something like Gouging Fire or maybe anything in that kind of range. I do hate this narrative though when you're playing on PTCG Live and your opponent's like, I'm losing, so I'm going to not play quickly to make it painful to your opponent. Luckily for me, I'm a Pokemon YouTuber and I could talk about Pokemon in between turns all day, every day until it passes their turn, right? But I think like when it comes down to a thing of just like, it just play the game or concede the game if you don't want to play anymore. Maybe their computer froze up and I'll give them the benefit of the doubt here. So we're no longer burnt. That's crazy. We're not able to hit this for 260 because you can't play Boss and Black Belt in the same turn, because otherwise we go Night Stretcher, Lumineon, Boss, and play back Black Belt. So I think this is just a simple thing where I want to get, I think I just want to, we have 3, 2, another energy there. Let's just put an energy onto this Duraludon. Do we have other energies in our discard pile? We do. Okay. Yeah, I'm going to put an energy on this Duraludon in case they bring it up so it can actually retreat, which would be fantastic. I'm not going to pull on our Iron Bundle. What I'm actually going to do is just go for Metal Defender doing 220. And the reason why I wouldn't do something like Bundle first is I don't want them to send up, I mean, maybe they could send up Scovillain, but at least next turn, unless they evolve into a second Pokemon EX or something that has more than 220 HP, I have game on board. And I mean, look, I'm playing against a Scovillain deck. It looks like they put some thought and effort into their deck, and maybe it's good against one of the top decks in format. But we got to look at it objectively of how much HP our opponent's Pokemon has, how many prize cards are their Pokemon worth. And once you start breaking Pokemon down to that level, you're not going to necessarily worry about which deck you have in front of you. You're going to start worrying about how can I maximize my turn every single turn. And I think that's going to be the area where you grow the most as a player. These are some of the things that like I go over in my coaching. So if you're like, hey, that sounds really cool, or Zach's pretty good at Pokemon sometimes. And I did just lock in my World Championship invite for the 2025 World Championships in Anaheim, California. Hit me up for some coaching at metafy.gg/@ZachLassage. I actually, I have some room for some new clients, and I totally love to help y'all out. Yeah, so they're just, they were just waiting things out. But we took the game. They didn't really do too much to us. That's fine. We did hit everything the way that we wanted to hit things. Easygoing, effective, and kind of impenetrable. Like, this deck just like stands tall like a bridge or a tower would. Of course there's some things that can take it down. I did lose to a couple decks at the European International Championships. I lost to an Arch Mirror, I lost to a Gardevoir, and I lost to a Dragapult. And the Gardevoir and the Arch and I brought them all down to, it was that last moment, do or die Iono on one side or the other. And I felt like I got a little bit unlucky in those cases. And I mean, certainly in other games, I did get a little bit luckier. There's some opportunities here to cook with this deck. And I think that if you're looking for a deck that's post-rotation proof, and if you're looking for a deck that is going to be strong right now, this is a deck that I can wholeheartedly recommend. I mean, I played it. This is my exact list that I came 139th out of around 3,500 players. Absolutely a fantastic deck. So I appreciate all y'all watching this video. This is our video that's going to kick off our week on Monday. We're going to be doing some other deck profiles this week. Going to end the week with the top 10 best decks going into Vancouver. And of course, the following week, since I'm going to be in Vancouver, I'm going to have to pre-record a couple videos, probably some deck profiles there. So it's going to be some awesome content across the board. And I really appreciate everyone for tuning in and supporting the channel. Check out our sponsors, links in the description below, or you can check for my Metafy link. I'm actually going to start adding an ad insert for Metafy on our videos, so you could always watch that and get the information there. And of course, watch some of my success story at Pokemon. And of course, I appreciate everything. So I'll catch up with all y'all later. There's only so many times I can say I appreciate everything. And I'll see everyone at Vancouver. Hopefully get to go on stream on my home turf in Canada. Peace out and have a great one. Want to support the Shuffle Squad? Be sure to check out all of our sponsors in the description to pick up Pokemon TCG singles, sealed, and PTCG live codes. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope that you enjoyed the content that we have today, and maybe you'll click on one of these other videos, enjoy those videos too. If you haven't already, give this video a like, subscribe to the channel, and let us know in the comments what video you want to watch next. Until next time, we'll catch up with all y'all later. Have yourself a great day.